So in this video, I want to show you how to code the sirens, what I call sirens, or basically the LEDs flashing back and forth at different intervals, for what I call fast and then slow and then fast, but this time without using a loop. And you might be wondering, how is that even possible? Yes, I showed you the first time without using a loop when I cut and pasted the code several times, but we're not actually going to do that as well. We're going to take advantage of something that's inherent in all Arduino code. So so I took the code that we had from before, which I called Siren with loops, and this time I started creating another project, cut and pasted that code, and this time I called it Siren with conditions. And again, I put it in our programming exercises. You might want to do that as well, or solutions if you already attempted this. Just so that you just have a snapshot of what this source is doing, because it's kind of important to sort of get the idea what's going on in here for eventually when you get your assignment for Arduinos. So I did make one change. I changed the slow time back to be 500 and fast time delay to be 200 again, and the number of times doing slow is 5, and the number of times slow this time is 15. I know I played around with the code in the last video, so I just want to reset that. So this is what our code looked like. So what I'm suggesting is that I actually don't need the loop anymore. So here I'm just going to outdent everything again. We still need the delay. Okay, and we're still going to have a notion of a counter. So here I'm going to remove this code. So now we've sort of gone back to sort of the original part where we just got the lights blinking back and forth slowly and constantly. So how do we sort of convert this code or modify this code to have the various delays in here? So we still want the notion of a counter, but here we're gonna actually use the loop. So remember what I said about Arduino code is that the loop is going to be constantly repeated. That's why it's called loop. It's going to be constantly running over and over again. So we're going to actually take advantage of that, of this looping concept built in, without actually having to write our own loop. In order to do that, we need to keep track of count, but every time we don't want the count to be reset every time the loop is coming back to the start, or else it's just going to be stuck in what we're going to be calling infinite loop. So what we want to do is we want to create, so I'm going to delete this code here, is this time we want to create our counter not inside our function, not inside the loop command. We're actually going to create on the outside. So that's what we call global variable. And we'll initialize it to 0, but really doesn't matter. What we're going to do that is inside setup, we're going to set that set the counter to be 0 because we want to start counting at 0. So here, the purpose of counter, maybe we'll put this in there, is how many times the light has blinked back and forth. So the notion here is that at the very start, it hasn't blinked back and forth. So that's why we set it to 0. So here we're going to have, we're going to turn the green light on, the red light off, and then we're going to delay. So here we're explicitly delaying by the slow time. And then here we're delaying by the slow time again. So in what we're doing here is that we don't know exactly we're going to delay slow or fast time. So we're going to set up a variable for that. So maybe in here, we're going to create a new variable, which we'll actually call delay time. Actually, we want to do that as a global, because again, this is going to be changing within our loop as well. So let me create that down here. Int delay time. Again, we'll set that to 0. And maybe at the very start, we're going to say delay time is going to be the slow delay time. So at the very beginning, we want our lights to flash slowly. So we're going to set the delay time to be the slow delay time. And so here it says explicitly saying which delay we're doing, because it's going to change whether we want fast or slow. We're going to say that we're just going to delay it by the delay time. So here we're going to turn the green light on, red light off. have that delay, then the turn green light off, red line on, and again we're going to have that delay. So we want the delay by delay time. Now we want to increment the counter by 1 because now it says we flashed the bulb, so we're going to go up by 1. So initially it starts at 0, we flash the bulb once, this should go up to 1. Now what was it we want to do is we want to actually see where our counter is at. So we're going to say, well, if, well, first of all, we need to sort of see where we are in the state of our program. Are we going through the slow times or the fast times? So here we're going to say if the delay time is equal to the slow time, the slow delay time. So let me put a comment up above. Check if the flashing lights are flashing slowly. And how we determine that is checking what the delay time is. So if it's flashing slowly, what we want to do is now if the counter, in other words, how many times it's flashed at that speed, if counter is equal to num, so remember we had these variables at the very top, is why I kind of set that up from the last time, is what I knew I was going to make use of this. So we're going to make use of this variable of num times slow and num times fast. So if the counter is equal to the num times slow, in other words, we flashed it that many times already, what is it we want to do? Well, in this case, we want to switch to the fast now. So what we want to do is now we're going to say the delay time is the fast delay time. And we're going to reset our counter because now we're going to start from counting from 0 again. So counter is going to equal to 0. So that's that if condition, if the flash are flashing slowly. Well, we want to do the same thing now if it's flashing fast. So we don't have to do an else if, we don't have to do an if condition in here. By default, because we're controlling the code, we know the delay time. We're either going to set it to be the fast delay time, or as what we did up here, we're going to set the slow delay time. So that's really important that we do that. And so once we've done that, here we're going to say else. Did it give me an extra set of brackets? Yes, it did, which I do not like. So here, else. Again, we're going to here now check what the counter is. So in this case, if it's flashed the same number of times as the fast times num times fast. So if that's the case, now we sort of want to do the opposite of what we did up above. Is here we're going to say that the delay time, we're going to now switch to the slow delay time. And again, we want to set our counter back to 0 because now we want to start counting from scratch. And then now when it gets back to the top of the loop, we're going to flash our light based on if there was a new delay time. All right, so let's just see if this code compiles. Make sure I didn't make any typos. Done compiling, excellent. So the program is still running from last time, but I'll just show you there. Let me upload it now. And let's see what's going to happen with our lights. So there's uploading, turns it off, good, so it's flashing slow. And now it's going fast. Hopefully it does that 15 times. And now it's going back to slow. Okay, so right now it's going to slow. Every time it's doing this, so again, every time we're going through the loop, it's checking what is the delay. What's the delay time? If it's a slow, then we're going to check, have we flashed it the number of slow times we did? That's the purpose of counter. We're counting how many times have we sort of switched the lights back and forth. This is why we're incrementing counter back and forth over here. If it's not flashing slow, well, by default, maybe I should put a comment in there, it's flashing fast. Now if we flash the number of times that we want for flash, and that's what this check is here, we sort of have to switch modes. So you can kind of think of the code in here as we're switching the modes. So if we're in slow delay time, we're going to switch the delay time to the fast delay time. And if we're in fast delay time, well, we're going to switch the delay time to the slow delay time. So here we're taking advantage of the inherent loop that's within the Arduino infrastructure, if we want to call it that. So we don't necessarily have to write a while loop. Which one is better? Well, it's debatable. The other one that we did with the while loop is a little bit more straightforward, but in that one we actually have a little bit less control of what's happening because in there we sort of have to, we're forcing the lights to flash 5 times and then 15 times. There's no way to do something else that might be different if something what we might call an interrupt is that, you know what, in the middle of that sequence, we wish to do something else a little bit differently. In here, in this code, we could actually control that because each loop through this loop code only flashes the light on and off. So here in here, we could add other conditions if we want to look for certain things. For example, if a button was pressed or something, then we could sort of change how our project or how our Arduino program is going to work. So this provides a little bit more robustness or a little bit more finer control in terms of what happens if we want to do something else that's in the middle of our sequence. Okay, so hopefully you found that a little bit useful. Try it out, type it in the code, and see if that it works exactly the same way. And hopefully you could understand the logic a little bit better by doing that as well.